What's up everybody, it's Sean here and we've made it. It's the end of 2021, which means it's time for my annual countdown of my top sneaker pickups of the year. So looking back, I know I say this every year, but it's been an absolutely amazing year for sneakers. We've seen the continued rise of New Balance, we've seen a ton of incredibly creative and very thought-provoking collaborations, and after going through my list of hundreds of pickups, it was incredibly difficult to narrow it down to 20, and honestly the margins between each of the shoes were so close. But here we are, I did my best, and hopefully you guys somewhat agree with my list. But as I say every year, this list is entirely subjective. It's purely based off of my own opinion, so I actually encourage you guys to disagree, and let's have some dialogue down below. So kicking off the list at number 20, we have the Soleil Bembury New Balance 2002R Water Be the Guide. It's been another incredible year for New Balance and for Soleil Bembury himself too. And of all his projects with New Balance that released this year, this one is easily my favorite. This one was the follow-up to the Peace Be the Journey pair that released last year. And while that one opted for more warmer tones, this one in contrast changed it up by incorporating these cooler tones of teal. And don't get me wrong, this is a very loud and a very bold colorway, but I think it's one that's going to stand out and be memorable for years to come. Next up on the list at number 19, we have the Nike Dunk Low in the Curry colorway. I know oftentimes people's lists are completely filled with just collaborations, but that's not to say that regular releases from the brands aren't any less dope. Case in point, these Curry Dunk Lows, while they weren't a special collaboration or anything like that, to me, it was just a very high quality, very wearable colorway in a year where Nike's continued to give us Nike Dunks that have been terrible quality. So to me at least, this is very deserving of its place in my top 20. Moving on next to number 18, we have the Nike SB Dunk Low in the Mummy colorway. These Mummy Dunks, which dropped just in time for Halloween, was a perfect combination of quality materials, amazing execution in the theming, and while it's technically a shoe for Halloween, I think that it's not overly themed, and it's a shoe I can pull off throughout the year, not just in October. So again, I love the creativity of this shoe, and this was a pair I was super glad to add to my collection this year. Next up on the list at number 17, we have the Air Jordan 1 High 85 in the neutral gray colorway. It's crazy to think that these dropped in 2021, but they actually did. And I remember leading up to this release, there was a ton of hype, as this would mark the first time that the natural gray or neutral gray Air Jordan 1s would make its return. And I love this pair not only because it's inspired by an OG colorway, but the colorway in itself obviously is super wearable and super versatile. And this is the first 85 cut Air Jordan 1 that was pretty readily available, especially when you compare it to the previous two 85 high releases. Moving on with number 16, we have the Union Air Jordan 4 in this taupe haze colorway. So the two Union Air Jordan 4 releases this year, while they arguably weren't as popular as the 2020 version, I still thought they were pretty dope, especially this taupe haze colorway. So while the Off Noirs, the Guavas, and the Desert Moss colorways, they're all pretty loud, this taupe haze colorway gave us something a little bit different. It was a little bit more muted for Union standards, but at the same time, they still gave us that same design language. And I know the Union Jordan 4 is a pretty polarizing shoe. Some people absolutely love it, while there's a lot of people that also hate it. I think all of them look pretty fire when you unstitch the tongue, and I think Union did a great job with this colorway. Next up on my list at number 15, we have the Nike SB Dunk Low in the Street Hawker colorway. So we've seen a couple of mismatching SB Dunks to release this year, including the What the Pauls, but for me, my favorite this year was the Street Hawkers. Maybe it's because of my Chinese background, but this colorway and the inspiration behind it really spoke to me. And even though mismatching sneakers are a little bit tacky and a little bit tough to pull off sometimes, I think the design of both the left foot and the right foot were done amazingly. I love the variation of the materials, the textures, the colors, and I think somehow just putting them all together, they really do work. Moving on next to number 14, we have the Air Jordan 1 High in this University Blue colorway. This is another non-collaboration sneaker, but just putting it bluntly, this is a beautiful colorway of the Air Jordan 1. Nike and Jordan Brand continued to flood the market with different Jordan 1 colorways, but few were able to stand out as good as this one. It has this classic color blocking style to it, and the University Blue colored shade they use on the upper, I personally thought it was beautiful. It has just enough balance of color while being a little bit muted, and the quality of the materials I thought were definitely on point. Moving on, next up on my list, this might be a bit of a controversial take, but at number 13, we have the Prada Air Max 1 in this Noise Aqua colorway. To be honest, I was pretty torn between this one and the Monarch colorway. I did a public vote, and I know the Monarchs did a lot better than these Noise Aquas. So I guess in the context of my list, both the Noise Aquas and Monarchs are pretty interchangeable. So So what can I say about this collaboration? I think it's a good example of not doing too much to a shoe, but they did the slightest of changes, which in this case is this wavy mudguard. And more importantly, all 4 colorways of the Pada Air Max 1s to release this year, I'd say that they were pretty readily available, and it seemed like the majority of people who wanted a pair were able to get them. So kudos to Pada and kudos to Nike for giving us a very accessible collaboration and one that was beautifully done as well. Moving on to number 12, we have the Off-White Nike Dunk Low Lot 1. Virgil Abloh's passing was absolutely tragic, but he left the sneaker community a ton of amazing releases with Nike this year. And of its 50 dunk colorway pack to release this summer, my personal favorite was lot number 1. I think this pair could have easily have been part of the original 10 collection, and I love the simplicity of the shoe, as well as the quality of the materials used. And this is just one of those colorways that when you look at it, it just screams Virgil Abloh Off-White. Yes, it wasn't the most accessible colorway of the 50, and I know his concept of 50 pairs that kind of look the same to each other was heavily ridiculed throughout its release, but it seems like a lot of people were able to score at least one of the 50, which is honestly just great to see. Moving on to number 11, we have the Adidas Yeezy Foam Runner in the sand colorway. You know, I have this pair ranked so highly, but it barely made the top 30 in the public vote. But I gotta say, this has been one of the most worn pairs in my collection this year. Kanye West, as usual, gives us something entirely different, and his designs continue to spark dialogue in the community, whether you love it or you hate it. And I think the foam runner really helped usher in acceptance and a rise in popularity of these foam clogs. And while I don't know necessarily how long this trend will last, as of right now at least, I love these on feet. They feel great, they're super airy for the summer, and if you're able to grab these for retail, the price point isn't bad at all either. So now we've reached our halfway mark and we're at number 10. And kicking off the list at number 10, we have the Aimé Leon Dore New Balance 550 in this yellow and green colorway. We gotta give some credit to the continued rise in popularity of New Balance 2 ALD. And this 550 silhouette, of course, has been one of the most popular silhouettes in New Balance portfolio throughout the past couple of years. We've seen not only GR sell out, but of course the collaborations, and in my opinion, this green and yellow ALD is my favorite collab of the 550 this year. I think the color combination of the shoe with this vintage midsole, this has the perfect classic ALD look, and I personally thought that the material quality on the shoe was on point, and I love the whole retro aesthetic of the colorway and the silhouette. Moving on next to number 9, we have the A Ma Maniere Air Jordan 1 Ernest. This might be ranked a lot lower on my list than yours, but again, this is just my personal opinion. I think this is a wonderfully executed collaboration, don't get me wrong. I love the variety of the materials, and more importantly, I really love the storytelling and the messaging behind this release. And while in my opinion there are a lot of other releases that top this one, I think this is easily one of the best Jordan releases to drop this year, and it's definitely a collaboration that really makes you think. And to add to that, I believe the release of these shoes were very fair, and a lot of people were able to grab these who wanted them. Next up at number 8, we have the Joe Freshgoods 990 V3 Outside Close. So whereas his previous 992 collaboration with New Balance was pretty impossible to grab, I thought that the 990 V3 was much more accessible, and it also doesn't hurt that this was an amazing colorway as well. And just like the A Ma Maniere Jordan 1s, the concept and storytelling behind the shoe was also equally as thought-provoking. And this is one of those shoes that when I first saw images of the shoe online, I knew without a doubt that this was going to be a top 10 sneaker of the year. Moving on next to number 7, we have the Fragment collaboration with Travis Scott and Jordan Brand on the Air Jordan 1 High. This is the release that seems to be pretty split among the people. On one hand, it was insanely hyped, but at the same time, similar to, for example, the Trophy Room Air Jordan 1s, this pair was pretty much impossible for most people to cop. So that's why I think it's pretty highly ranked on my list, but at the same time, it barely made the top 20 in my public vote. So this is one of those triple collaborations that we've been seeing a lot this year, and putting aside the resale value and the hype, I really think that this colorway isn't bad at all. I know the shoe gets a lot of flack and a lot of hate for its color blocking, but I kind of like how this white complements the blue, and to put it bluntly, it felt pretty good to complete my Travis Scott Jordan 1 High set. Moving on next to number 6, we have the Supreme Nike SB Dunk Low in this Green Stars colorway. So similar to the Noise Aqua versus Monarch colorway debate, to me at least, all 4 colorways of these Supreme SB Dunks were very, very nice. So really, you can replace this green colorway with any of the other 3 colors, and it would still probably stay in the same place on my list. So as most of you guys probably know, with Supreme and Nike SB, these low tops were inspired by the classic high cuts, the light blue, the orange, and the red, which dropped almost 20 years ago. And I love how they paid homage to those classics, but putting it on the more wearable low top version, which I personally prefer. The one really surprising thing though is, while this was pretty highly ranked on my list, it didn't even make the top 30 or 40 on my public vote, which is kind of surprising given all the hype that this pack was given when they released earlier this year. So now we're at our top 5. And kicking off my list at number 5, we have the Off-White Air Jordan 2 Low in this white and red colorway. This pair is really special as it's the last release that Virgil Abloh was able to see released to the public. And while I know the opinion of the design of this shoe is still pretty split, Virgil Abloh's design language and influence can clearly be seen on this shoe, and how this specific release really led to more discussion and chatter surrounding the Jordan 2 silhouette, which honestly isn't the most popular, especially when you compare it to the Jordan 1 and the Jordan 3. For me, I've always appreciated the Jordan 2, and while I won't say it's my favorite silhouette of all time, I really like the changes they added to this off-white version, and in hand it really feels like a very sturdy, very quality product, and it's a great combination of creativity and execution. Next up at number 4, we have the ParaSP Dunk Low Abstract Art. In another year full of dunk releases, this one stood at the top. This pair gave us a combination of quality materials, a unique but not over-the-top design, and just by looking at it, it really has Para's design footprint stamped all over. In my opinion, this is a beautifully executed and a beautifully designed SB Dunk Low, and I can really see this being a future classic years down the road. So now we're at our top 3, and rounding out the list at number 3, of course we have a New Balance release, and no other New Balance release topped this one, the 2002R Refined Future or Protection Pack. Not only was this not a collaboration, and it was technically supposed to be a general release, which just happened to catch fire in the sneaker community, but I gotta give credit to the 2002R silhouette for being one of the most comfortable shoes in my rotation. So not only does it check off the comfort side of things, but the design of this shoe is just absolutely incredible. It really looks like we've torn off pieces of the upper and giving us this ripped up exposed look to it. And the look of this shoe is so unlike your typical more conservative New Balance shoe that it really stands out on its own. At the same time, however, this Raincloud colorway is still pretty muted, so it gives us the best of both worlds with a very loud and unique design, paired up with a more versatile and understated colorway, which makes this easily my favorite New Balance release this year. So sitting in the number 2 spot, the first runner-up of my top 20 pickups of the year goes to the Fragment Travis Scott Air Jordan 1 Low. Between this one and the high top that released, I think a lot of people agree with me that the lows were just a better colorway all in all. I just think the color blocking on this shoe was just better done than the high tops, and the color combination on this shoe made this really wearable with a little bit of pop, but at the same time, it sort of had more of a classy vibe to it. And to add to that, I think the low tops were much more accessible than the highs. I've seen a lot more people able to grab these ones, and we all know how popular the Air Jordan 1 Low silhouette has been this year, and you can say that this collaboration definitely helped boost its popularity. So now we're left with one. And if you guys have watched this entire video, I'm pretty sure you guys can guess what's sitting at the top of my list this year. It almost seems to be a unanimous choice among all the sneaker blogs, among other YouTubers as well, and I can't disagree. My favorite pickup of the year goes to the A Ma Maniére Air Jordan 3 Raised by Women. I love the Air Jordan 3 silhouette, and when I first saw the initial design of this shoe, I said to myself I was going to grab this pair regardless of resale price. But James Whitner did even better by releasing these very fairly in very high quantities, which theoretically is what a shoe of the year should be. It should be accessible to the people, it should have an excellent design, and of course, it should have a great story behind it as well. So I think the A Ma Maniére Jordan 3 checks off all those boxes, and I love how this was available from the smallest of sizes for babies to the largest men's sizes as well, making sure that pretty much everyone that wanted to grab a pair of these was able to. And I really try to avoid doubling up these days because given my collection, it's pretty irresponsible for me to do, but this is one of those rare pairs that I had to grab 2 pairs of. And the fact that I was able to grab it for retail just speaks volumes to the type of release that this was. So this was the easy no-brainer shoe of the year for me, and it seems like many people in the sneaker community also agree. So I'll put up a screenshot of the public vote results. So I let my YouTube audience and my Instagram audience have the chance to vote, and this is what the results look like. So as you can see, there are a lot of similarities in the top 10, but like I said before, it was very surprising to see the Supreme SB Dunk Lows not even rank the top 30. So it seems like you guys love the A Ma Maniére Jordan 1s a lot more than I did. You guys had that ranked as number 3 on your lists. And I know it doesn't show it here, but you had the Pada Air Max 1 Monarchs ranked at number 4. And other notable shoes on your list that didn't make it to mine was the Air Max 90 Bacon, the Jordan 1 Hyper Royals, and the SB Dunk Low What the Pauls. So there you have it. That has been my top 20 sneaker pickups of 2021. And like I said, it's been another incredible year. But as the game goes, it just never stops. And I'm very excited to see what the big brands have to release for 2022. I'm seeing things like the Fire Red Jordan 3s rumored to come out. And will we continue to see New Balance gain more and more market share? Or will the other brands crack the list? Time will tell, and I personally can't wait to see. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about my list. Let me know what pairs you disagree with, what pairs you agree with, and what has been your top release of 2021. If you guys like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. You can follow me on Instagram at sgo8, check me out on Twitter at sean.go, and visit my website at seango.ca. So thank you everyone for an amazing year. Thank you for supporting me and for showing me love in my videos, on my IG, all that stuff throughout the year. Without you guys, this channel would be nothing. So all the love and much appreciated. So until next time, hope you guys have a safe and happy holiday season, and I'll catch you guys all in my next video.